Good morning, children of the 7th grade. Welcome to your English class. Today we are going to have a new lesson by the name of Avoid Plastics. So, children, plastic is supposed to be one of the most amazing inventions of the century, the previous century rather. But after discovering this plastic, which has replaced many materials in a big way, has actually brought us almost at extinction of our wildlife and our marine life and the birds also it harms. You will ask me, how can plastic harm all these things, teacher? But let me read the lesson to you and then I will explain it. So, open your books to page number 22, children. The lesson begins this way. It is time to say no to plastic. Plastic is not a strange project to anyone. It is everywhere in the present world and it has become a part of our life. Alexander Parks created the first man-made plastic. He demonstrated it in the international exhibition in London. He named it as Parkesine. The common and the wide use of plastic is mainly because it is inexpensive, it is long lasting and it is easy to make. This substance cannot be molded into any form by heating. It can be retained in that particular form when cooled. It can be made into thin and light material which is now widely used to make hard and disposable carry bags or packaging material. These qualities cause a threat to the environment as it is cheap and easily available. People dispose of plastic everywhere. Plastic stays on the earth's surface for many centuries as it is long lasting and is impossible to decompose. It ultimately causes enormous environmental health hazards due to migration. Plastic pollution is highly concentrated in big cities. When these are thrown after use, they remain in the soil in the same form as non-biodegradable. Plastic causes serious damage to the environment at every stage of production or even at its disposal. To reduce the risk of involved in plastic, the usage should be minimized, which can result in the production. The chemical that causes into the production of plastics is toxic and can cause serious damage to all living beings. So children, even recycling of plastic causes problems. The worst is that recycling degrades the quality of plastics and demands the production of more plastic to make an original product. A single plastic sheet can take about 1,000 years to rot. It also has a bad impact on the food chain. Plastic is one of the causes of global warming. Rivers have become the main dumping ground for plastics which pollute water, marine life and also air that we breathe. Many are being profited by plastic. Those who get profit from plastics are trying to dispute the harm that it causes. You can't completely stop the use of plastic, but you can minimize its production for healthy future. The use of plastic should be minimized at any cost. So, children, our lesson begins with it's time to say no to plastics. What happened, children? In the olden days, we used to use utensils made of steel, copper, brass, etc. Now, if you see the olden vessels which are there in the house, they themselves have some weight. Now, suppose take the example of a pot, a water pot or a clay pot. Now, it has a weight of its own. It may weigh about 3 to 4 kilos itself. And when you put in water to store it and then carry it, it becomes more difficult to carry it and bring it back. Compared to it, if you take a plastic uh, pot, or a bingi, which you call in Kannada. If you fill water in that, it is very easy to carry. When it is empty, it is almost has no weight, and it is very, very useful for storing water, okay, and storing things, etc. Now you see your water bottle itself is made of plastic. Very few people use those heavy steel bottles because they used to make a noise, etc. And this plastic bottle which you carry, you have a plastic lunch box. So you can see plastic has invaded our life in a big way. Your school bag is also made of plastic. Shoes are made out of plastic. Caps are made out of plastic. God knows how many things are made out of plastic. So what happens, children? Toys, children's toys are made out of plastic. Because if they play with a steel toy, because it's very hard, it may hurt the child. A plastic toy is safe, but it is made of toxic material. Now, Alexander Parkes discovered plastic in London and put it on the show in the beginning of the century and named it Parkesine. Now, gradually, from the last century to this century, plastic has become very popular. You know, first big products were made out of plastic, then slowly what happens, when that product is spoiled, they go ahead and, you must have seen those shops which collect broken plastic, they give it to the company to go ahead and recycle that. They make either, what do you say, plastic bags or plastic sheets or children's toys. You know, from the big form it has become into small form. Now the problem with plastic, children, if you ever burn plastic, if you see that when you try to burn plastic, it gives out a very bad smell which you cannot even tolerate. So why? Because it is made out of poisonous, toxic material. And the companies which produce plastic give out a terrible waste in the environment, air pollution, water pollution, they pollute the water, they pollute everything which comes into their contact. And the people working in the plastic companies are always at a health hazard, children. But since they don't have a job, unfortunately they have to go and work in the company manufacturing plastic. Now all these things during the last century, children, have actually made plastic very popular. It has become very popular because it is easily, what you say, disposable. For example, if you have a cloth bag, it will be very difficult to fold that cloth bag and put in your pocket. But if it's a very big plastic bag, also you can fold it easily, put it in a plastic, take it to market, fill it up with whatever your groceries etc. you want, and your job is done. If you don't want it after that, you can empty your groceries, throw out that plastic. Okay? And that plastic which you have thrown off, children, is not going to go away from the earth anyway. It takes more than 1,000 years for the plastic to become completely biodegradable because it does not dissolve into the earth. Now what happens, for example, if you have a clay pot, if it breaks, you go ahead and put that clay on the earth. After a few days or a few months, after some rain falls on it, or if somebody breaks it, it amalgamates or joins into the earth. It becomes a part of the earth. Okay, it is like that actually. But if you put plastic there in earth, in that piece of land, plants will not be able to grow because of the presence of plastic. Plastic, as I told you, has toxins which are hazardous to the human health. And what happens with children when we go to the picnic near the rivers or near lakes and ponds, we take out snacks etc. to eat nicely in a plastic bag. After using that, eating our food, we throw that plastic bag into the river. That affects the fishes too, because it spoils their breathing cycle. And the plastic goes into the river system and clogs the river system. So you must have seen water being collected or stagnated in the place because of this plastic pollution. Okay, it joins with the other things, doesn't let them also flow easily. It joins the other things and clogs the entire marine system. So the fishes start dying. In the same way, you must have seen cows without thinking. Sometimes they go ahead and eat plastic. Cows are goats. They go ahead and eat that and they fall sick and they may ultimately die because plastic contains toxin. So these are all the things which are the minus points of plastic. Now we cannot get rid of plastic forever. But what we can do is, children, we can minimize the use. Use it only when it is necessary. Avoid plastic bags. Okay, avoid plastics as far as you have to in your life. Because the food which you carry, suppose a very hot food, there are some toxins which come out of that lunch box, and that will spoil your food, that will spoil your health in the long run. So that is a message to you children. You should spread this message all around that plastics are very bad for human beings. Try to minimize the use of plastic. There are some difficult words which I want to share with you, the meanings of that. Please take down these words and put it in your fair book. I will be sending you the notes for this lesson in my next session. So please take down the meanings. Avoid plastics. It is on page number 22 of your book. Mold, give shape to. So plastic is made in a mold, means you put hot plastic in a mold and the shape of the utensils comes out. Disposable, meant to be used once and thrown. Non-biodegradable, not capable of being decomposed. Enormous, very large use. That means plastic is used in an enormous way and causes a huge damage to our system. Hazardous, risky, dangerous. Migration, move from one place to another. Toxic is poisonous. Recycling is nothing but converting waste to reusable material. As I told you, the big plastic they dissolve and make into plastic bags. Global warming, increase in Earth's atmospheric temperature. Marine, found in the sea. So these are a few meanings which I want you to write in a fair book. I will be sending you the notes very soon, children. In the meanwhile, you stay home, stay safe, and the final message, avoid plastics and have a good day. This is goodbye from your English teacher today. Have a nice day, children. Goodbye.